Welcome in to the Paul Kuharsky podcast. Good morning on Tuesday, January 20th. I'm Paul Kuharsky at paulkuharsky.com, sponsored by Edley's Barbecue. Titans have a new head coach, Robert Saleh. Let everyone calm down. Let's return to a normal, non-panicked lifestyle. This is my prayer. I know it will not come true. It'll be 2 seconds before somebody asks me who the offensive coordinator is, and we go into a panic about that. Caden Duncan says, I was right. The Titans were looking for a coach with Vrabel-esque qualities. I mean, I think anybody would be looking for a coach with Vrabel-esque qualities, and there weren't many guys on their list with Vrabel-esque qualities. I do think, it was crazy for so many people, so many people to just conclude that the Titans were hiring Matt Nagy and that it was a foregone conclusion. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why to a degree. We talked about this loyalty thing, that Vrabel was loyal to people, and that maybe Titans fans are so used to this loyalty thing that they can't get out of it. Though I told you time and time again that Chad Brinker didn't hire John Eric Sullivan, who was the guy for him that was in the Nagy position for Borgonzi. And here Borgonzi allowed Robert Saleh, who I'm sure they'd done a ton of research on, to come in and over the course of 5+ hours really knock him off his feet and make him decide that that was his guy. And so, look, his record wasn't good in New York. And that's what it comes down to. His record needs to be better. We know he's a great defensive coach. He could put great defenses on the field and get defensive results. The question's all about offense. Who are they going to hire to nurture Cam Ward and to bring him along? His first offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, probably wasn't ready for the job. Could be an option again here. But then the Nathaniel Hackett stuff was all Aaron Rodgers doing, really. And we know how that all worked out. And so, look, he's in a dysfunctional organization. Jets are more dysfunctional than the Titans, no matter what you want to say about it. And now he's in a better situation. Second time, his life is his life is hanging on it. And Borgonzi's career is hanging on it. Gator's asking who he'll report to. I imagine he reports to Mike Borgonzi. That is the way they have it set up. We're not going to get the answers to those questions for a while. This is the job that he really wanted. I see somebody's pointing out that Diana said that. I had heard that as well. And obviously that he comes here first tells you that. So I don't think the presser is going to be particularly soon, is my gut feeling on that. So we will see. Of course, Salah is going to say now that he wants. Tin Cups asking about all 22. Email me, pkuharsky@gmail.com, and I'll get you on the wait list. Sammy is out close to the 49ers. He has been a solid guy. He watches the 49ers very closely. Give us a sense, Sammy, of why you like him so much and what you think. Am I shocked? I'm not among the people that are shocked. I thought he was going to run a reasonable process here and take the guy. Everybody else should be shocked. And I imagine is shocked because I listened to a ton of people and read a ton of people who said that it was a foregone conclusion that Matt Nagy was going to be hired. So I'm curious what they all have to say today. I'm sure they'll gloss right by it. You want me to get the word out there that we are back up. You're not back up. I mean, you have a conceivably better head coach. Now you need players. You don't get back up in January. You get back up in September. So that's how that goes. You needed a guy who could headbutt Simmons on the sideline. I don't think that's particularly important, and I think headbutting a guy in a helmet is generally stupid. Gator I truly believe they were going to hire Nagy, but put feelers out there in the media and realized there was no way they would be able to without losing the fan base for the next year entirely. Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, it was clear what the fan base thought. You can't hire based on what the fan base thinks. Here's what I truly believe. I truly believe they went through a thorough process and they hired the guy they thought was the best guy. I don't know why everything has to be some kind of conspiracy theory or reaction or whatnot. I think most of you like Mike Borgonzi. Mike Borgonzi landed on Robert Saleh. Can it be as simple as that? Does there have to be some big, windy a path or end around for a rationale to not hire Matt Nagy? Or could he have possibly liked Nagy and allowed for the potential that he would like somebody more, landed there, and hired the guy he liked more? What about that? Occam's razor. Like, the simplest explanation is the explanation. Carthon got the corny entire building applause. Callie and Borgo were brought in the back door. What do I expect with Salah? I mean, I don't think they'll ever do the entire building applause thing again. Yeah, this thing about Amy changing the thing, that ESPN retracted that. Now, I know that's going to live on forever, just like this thing that Mike McCarthy was a finalist. Mike McCarthy was such a big finalist that he withdrew his name from consideration apparently on Monday. You know who withdraws their name from consideration for jobs? Guys who know they're not getting it. And the Titans finalists were very clear. They were people that they were going to have in the building on Monday and Tuesday, which is when they were getting into the hiring zone. And the people they were going to hire were going to be Salah, Nagy, or Hafley. Hafley disappeared. Then I think, unless something went wildly wrong that forced them to change course, it was going to be Salah or Nagy. If they had to go back to the drawing board, I did not believe that Mike McCarthy would have been on the drawing board. Now, you read something on Twitter that indicated otherwise, and you can't stop yourself from believing it, a lot of you. And so I can only fight that to a certain degree. You read something on Twitter that was retracted by ESPN. So ESPN doesn't even believe it to be true anymore. But a lot of you are going to believe that Amy Adams Strunk did something here at the end. She did not. I read my most recent post. Amy Adams Strunk blessed Mike Borgonzi to hire between Salah and Nagy, and he did. Luke C., I know why, because it seemed like every single Titans post on X was about Nagy from tons of journalists and the public. But yes, definitely a loyalty complex too. Go check my tweets. I mean, I wasn't talking more about Nagy than I was about anybody else. Need a good edge player like Bain. Well, I agree that you need a good edge player. I think you need a good edge player that's not like Bain. I think you need a good edge player who's absolutely an edge player, an unquestioned edge player. Bain could be like more in the Sebastian Joseph Day position. And the Titans may be changing front here. Salah's more of a 4-3 guy. It's kind of about what the pieces look like. I don't think 4-3-3-4 base is not as big a deal as it used to be, because you're not in base a lot. I don't know if people draft to base the way that they used to. I think 5 men around the line of scrimmage a lot. Sometimes more, that you've got 2 people in the middle field most of the time. So, I mean, it's not as prescribed as it used to be. I don't understand why there's mystery about this, April. Any idea what happened to get him here so quickly? They liked him. They wanted to speed up the process. He liked them. And they said, hey, why don't we drop this Zoom and get you to town? And he said, all right, let's do it. Why are people throwing a parade? TK wants to know. 35% winning percentage, failed Zach Wilson project, an offensive staff of Keith Carter, Downing, and Hackett. This is meh at best. No? Well, Hackett wasn't his doing. Hackett came with Aaron Rodgers. So that's a dysfunctional organization directing him. Yeah, they didn't win. I mean, look, if you like this hire, if you have optimism about this hire, you're setting aside a lot of what went wrong with the Jets, who are bad organization. Zach Wilson project. I mean, I don't think he went there thinking, we'll take a shot with Zach Wilson. When it doesn't work out, we'll go a different direction. Their different direction was Aaron Rodgers, and he tore his Achilles on the 4th snap from scrimmage. How many coaches do we think are doing really well under those circumstances? I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just telling you what those circumstances were and why you might look past them. I'm throwing up my Instagram account here, trying to grow that a little bit. Been putting some good stuff up there. Hope you'll consider a follow. And somebody's obsessed with this. It's kind of odd to have a Lebanese Muslim and the head coach of a team in Middle Tennessee, but I promise you no one will care if he's good. No one should care if he's not good either. Who the fuck gives a fuck what his background is? He's a football coach. Amy, David, if you're listening, Amy did not do what the retracted report said that she did. If McDaniel does come in, Marty Clark, as the offensive coordinator, it will be because of Salah's intense belief in him and his ability to sell Borgonzi on him. Although possible. But I don't think McDaniel did great when he was here without Salah. Yes, he'll certainly have a defensive coordinator, just like a play calling offensive head coach has an offensive coordinator. They still need help because they're busy managing the whole franchise. Wes Patrick, setting expectations. Regardless if it was Salah or not, expectation is competitive in December and playoffs. Bears, Jags, Pats all rebounded from horrendous prior year. Whatever, how, or why went wrong for the Titans the last 2 years, time to fix it now and go win. I did a video from Jacksonville on my way out of Duval saying pretty much the same thing. Like, you had 6 wins, you had 7 wins. Now you had 3 wins and 3 wins. It's time to get the hire right, to bring in the right core of people. It's hard to fix things in one off season, but these teams with the right head coach and the right one off season worth of people have done well to have the quick turnaround like that. And it's the Titans' turn to do that. So let's go. Did I finally get some sleep? Well, I mean, the news came down. I was in bed reading. It was going to be a while before I was asleep. Got up, put the stuff live that I had written, and then got caught up in this retracted report. So I wrote another piece about that. I had some videos done, got those posted. And then, of course, it took me a long time to fall asleep. Woke up this morning just to check that everything had posted properly and then let myself sleep in a little bit. Not that people care, but you did ask. We should at least be optimistic about the hire, said Dr. Dre. He has good ties around the league to land good coordinators, players, coach. We've got a good core to build around with plenty of draft picks, but we have to be patient. I don't know that you have a good core to build around. I think you have a very thin core to build around. Everybody retweet, if you will. Let's get the message out there. We'll get some more people in the room. Why do I think they didn't explore McDermott? Maybe they did explore McDermott, found out that he wasn't interested. We don't know about that. But I think, in terms of Salah, if this is a guy that they really, really wanted, if they let him leave, he could have decided in short order to coach Arizona, could have seen if he got a call back to Baltimore, could have said, screw it, I'll just stay in San Francisco, have another kick-ass year there, and get in a cycle next year. So Well, his interview started at whatever time, and then it went 5+ hours, and then I'm sure the Titans took a little bit of time to go consider and reach their conclusion, and then you start talking contract. So the timing is what the timing is. That's for somebody asking, for Kevin asking, is there a reason it was done in the middle of the night? It wasn't done in the middle of the night. It was done 11, 12 o'clock. Middle of the night is 3 o'clock. And they would have done it at 3 o'clock if that's the time it took them to go. Here's Sam, who is very close to the 49ers in the Bay Area. He thinks he's the antidote for what ails the Titans. Absolute leader who will bring what they were asking for, thinking of Jeff's comments. One of the best defensive minds in the game. Yeah, this thing, you can lose a fan base and win them back if you win like they never left. And this is very important. A lot of people were saying if it was Nagy, they were out. Yeah, if it's Nagy, they're out. Except, they're following a lot of people on their timelines, and there's a coordinator hire, and they'd be a little bit curious about it. I don't believe that many people who say they'll be out will actually get out and stay out. Also, it sounds good. But then, if Matt Nagy was the hire and the Titans, won 2 out of their 3 first games, a lot of people would come back. Van Winkle. Blows my mind how fans think the people hired to do these jobs and make these hires put any weight in our opinion. They shouldn't. That's right. I mean, Bill Polian repeated it. It was famously said by somebody well before him. If you start listening to the fans, you'll soon be sitting with them. That's absolutely true. This is very well said by Jordan Pace. You can't think ownership is a bunch of bumbling idiots, but also think they're savvy enough to orchestrate this Nagy PR conspiracy. Is it challenge going from big markets, blue cities like NY and the SF, to smaller market? I believe you followed that career path. I mean, I think it's easier. Big fish, small pond, as opposed to big fish, big ocean with lots of big fish and lots of big sharks. For him, certainly I think the scrutiny will be less. I think the ownership is better, as hard as it is for Amy Adams Strunk to be better than somebody. She's better than Woody Johnson. And I think the ownership problems arise later when things start to go wrong. So the longer he can do well and keep the momentum going, the better things will be. Blake says Robert was dealt a terrible hand in New York. Do I like his immediate setup in Tennessee to improve? I mean, it's not a great setup. I mean, there's a reason. Titans drafted first and they're drafting fourth, and that the job is open. But, there are worse places to be. I certainly think Arizona is worse. I certainly think Las Vegas is worse. A lot of people are like, no, Las Vegas has Tom Brady involved. Tom Brady's done a shit job there. It's unclear how involved he is or how uninvolved he is. He's got the conflict of interest with the TV stuff. And so Mark Davis is not a good owner. And, they got quarterback issues and a lot. I don't think they're as foundationally sound. Max Crosby's pissed off at them. So we'll see. Do I like Threads more than X? Well, I like Threads more than X in terms of it's not a venomous place, but there aren't a lot of people on Threads. I do like that Threads is connected to Instagram and that there's an audience for the videos there. And there's not much of an audience for the videos on X. And I'm really enjoying doing the videos, and my audience is growing on that. So I like it from that vantage point. But my audience is biggest on X. I've grown it the longest, and there's no avoiding being there. I would like to just be on X to publish and push my stuff, and I would love to avoid spending as much time as I do looking at reaction and reading stuff there. I think that's probably fair. Joshua says people need to realize that if Amy was wanting to throw her weight around, she's very light now, she would have had Arthur Smith as a finalist. Berg says, I think Borgonzi knew what he had in Nagy, so it made sense to keep him as a finalist throughout the process. He likes him. Doesn't mean he wasn't open to others. That seems like a sensible thing to say, Ed, but there's no room for sensibility at this time. I'm Paul Kuharsky. This is the Paul Kuharsky podcast, which is connected to paulkuharsky.com, where you should be a member for less than a IPA, a cup of coffee, or a fancy cocktail. You get all my news and analysis, game analysis from Blake Bedingfield, the former scout with the Titans, film analysis year-round from Drew Beatty. He'll start looking at the draft now. Great analytics perspective from Mike Herndon, college stuff from Braden Gall. How about Indiana last night? And I'll send you a text telling you when these podcasts are going live. It's a pretty good deal all around. Come check it out. PaulKuharsky.com, the most unique place for Titans coverage in the internet, on the internet. And I'll put a link here for you to come join. Thank you for your consideration. What do I really think are specific things they like about Salah? Well, they like his personality, his ability to lead and have people follow, and certainly his defensive scheme, innovation, and effectiveness. He's got a track record of fielding very good defenses. I don't know if they reached out to McDermott or not. And I don't know if he declined or not. I think at this point in time, it really doesn't matter. Sammy says, I think this will almost guarantee that they're taking one of the edges at number 4, and I think it's reasonable to expect this defense to take leaps in year 1. It's huge for Gray and Winston, too. I want to see more from Winston. I know he got hurt, started hurt, got hurt. Things slowed down, but he's a box safety in his first year. I'm not real excited about his box safety. A couple of staff things. Denard Wilson could wind up with John Harbaugh. Keep an eye on that. Bill Callahan has been hired by Kevin Stefanski. Don't be surprised to see Brian Callahan wind up there, and maybe even Nick Holtz. Yeah, I read this too. I think it was from Albert Breer that Salah pitched a big plan for offensive coordinator. McDaniel singular seems logical if he can't get a head coach, but now is that plausible after he interviewed for a head coaching job with us and didn't get it? Well, why wouldn't it be? I mean, he didn't get the head coaching job. Now he's looking for work. The offensive coordinator job is open, and the head coach likes him a lot. I don't think he did well in the head coach interview. So, you know, how he does with Borgonzi and how that's sold to the organization would be interesting. We'll have to see. On the Nagy stuff, Trey said it's lazy to me. Nagy was the most common sense assumption, and people ran with it like it was a done deal. Yeah, they sure did. Some fans just want to blame Amy for everything. They'll bash her for allowing buddy hires, but then we'll turn around and praise Salah for potentially making a buddy hire and McDaniel. Salah and McDaniel are very close, yeah. Here, the people were looking at Amy as a savior because of the retracted report. So, yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily, Trey says Bain is a DT. I don't know if he's a DT, but he's a DE. It doesn't seem like an edge to me. Adam says, seems like I called this one 3 months ago. I'm not really into making predictions. I mean, people might have forced me into a prediction. I said who I liked. and I've liked him. Do I think Munchak would work with Salah? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't have a connection. I do have one thing that would make them maybe not a match, but that's not something I'm going to say on here at this time. I mean, I think, how do I feel about Salah calling plays this time around? He didn't with the Jets. So when a guy was a play caller and was good at it as a coordinator and then doesn't do it as a head coach, I understand like the temptation to want to step back and take a bigger picture thing, but you're taking away the thing that you did best that helped you get the job. And so for Robert Saleh, it seems to me to make a lot of sense for him to call plays. And I think that's his intention here. And it should be, because that's what makes him special. And that's what got him the job. How good his defense is the number one thing on a list of things. So I think it's a mistake for guys like that to step back from the thing that singled them out and made them so attractive. Robert Saleh, I believe, is going to call plays, and he should call plays. That's a big part of what made him an attractive candidate. It's fair. You know, you're worried that Gator's worried that he's going to have the same problem Vrabel had, a revolving door at offensive coordinator. Vrabel had 4 in 6 years, right? Went from LaFleur to Smith to Downing to Kelly. And that's a lot of turnover. But look, what you have to do is be a defensive version of Shanahan and McVay. And you could say, those guys are calling the plays, and so their offensive coordinators matter less. But those guys have had a train of offensive people who have been very good, who have gone on to jobs and success as offensive people. And so you just have to build that into your program. How long will it take for Salah to hire his staff, and when does free agency start this year? Free agency always starts kind of mid-March. I don't have the date nailed down there. How long will it take for him to hire his staff? I think it'll take, probably 3 weeks, maybe longer to tie up the loose ends. I don't know. That's just a rough estimate. Look, there are going to be some guys that are married to Salah that he's not going to have a problem getting. And there are going to be some guys who maybe want to see what the market has to offer. And they're going to want to wait maybe and see how all these other head coaching jobs sift out. Thumbs up, like the tweet. Thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe. And if you're listening later on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeart, rate, review, do all the things you can do there. Trey is smart to point out that I should remind you about that, and I appreciate it. I don't think the press conference is going to be immediate. I mean, Robert says, not true, Sammy. They could take Love or a receiver at 4 to help the new coordinator in Cam and sign Owa as at edge. I don't think he's making it to free agency, but sure. All kinds of things are wide open. But again, edges, receivers, much harder to address in free agency. Is McDaniel still in the running for head coaching jobs? I haven't been monitoring it, but he might be. I don't, has my opinion changed on Bain after last night? He's a definite impact player. He's an impact player. He's just not, to me, unquestionable guy that's on the edge. He's a versatile guy. You can move up and down the line. Well, Titans don't need a guy that can move up and down the line. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't take him and have success with him if you're Robert Saleh, but the Titans need edge rushers. Now, he's going to play wide 9, right? Sammy, am I right there? If he's playing wide 9, is Bain the kind of guy that you want out wide? I think his skill set is more winning quickly with power, more not straight up on a guy, but closer to the guy he's going to beat. How does 5 years align with Borgonzi? I think Borgonzi probably got 5 years, and he's heading into year 2, so they'd be a year off. I think. I'm not positive. Billy Sullivan going to join the site. I appreciate that. Link is in the comments here. Yeah, I just don't see Caleb Downs as a safety being a priority for the Titans. It's more of a luxury position that high. Very good player. You'd love to have him on your team, but I don't think you can take him instead of these other positions that we've been talking about for years. I haven't taken an edge since 2010. Yeah, this comp's going around. Reuben Bain is Brandon Graham. Well, the Titans, Brandon Graham's a great player. Don't get me wrong. You'd love to have Brandon Graham on the Titans. But when you look at the Titans' needs, is Brandon Graham a big Titans need? What are the legit complaints against Borgonzi at this point? Well, Cody Barton, that wasn't a very good pick. Femi Oladejo's been too hurt for us to really know, and he was going to be a second-year guy anyway. But I don't have a great feeling about him. That doesn't seem like a great pick to me. And everybody's very high on Kevin Winston. I need to see Kevin Winston play better in coverage. If he's a box safety, I don't need a box safety in the third round. So we'll see about that. Look, he's been good. I don't think he's been terrific. The best thing about him is like he speaks and he makes sense. And that gives you confidence in his leadership. Robert wants Amy to speak at the presser. She's not going to speak at the presser. There's no chance of that. I'm not going to predict the offensive coordinator at this time. Yeah. Big Red wants Jawan Jennings and Breece Hall to get some cowboy boots. We don't wear cowboy boots in Nashville. Like, it's not a regular thing. That's kind of Dallas. Alec Pierce. James Riley says, truly hope that Salah can turn this team around. I know that he seems to choke in big moments. Well, how many big moments did the Jets even have for him to choke in? And like you're saying, San Francisco choked against Seattle. Seattle's better than San Francisco. Good coach finds a way to win, even if dealt with a bad organization. Indiana's coach did it. Indiana's coach built a good organization. He's not coaching a bad organization to the national championship. He built a good organization. Belichick did it with New England. Well, he turned a bad organization into a good organization. You're kind of saying like Belichick did all this with a bad organization. That's not what he did. And Mike Vrabel's done it with New England. Well, he's flipping a bad organization into a good organization. I think, James, you're off here in indicating that all these excellent coaches coached bad organizations to win. They flipped bad organizations into good organizations. That's a very important distinction. Let's see what's new here. Having that Colts owner more involved hasn't done shit. Well, we'll see a year from now. She's been at the head of the thing for a year. Again, it's just the level of impatience there is crazy. And I think Shane Steichen is a good head coach. Yeah. Ballard has had a ridiculously long term, but I would say he, maybe in the long run it makes sense that Steichen either establish himself and you bring in a new GM that he helps you hire, or which you could have done now, or you fire them both and hire people on the same cycle. But I think it's a little early to say that she's not good. Now, I'm not suggesting Amy should be involved on that level. They're different people, different capacities, different styles. Do I know if a minority candidate interviewed for head coach, if that counts for the coordinator Rooney Rule, or does it have to be in person for the coordinator? That's a good question. And I do not know. I would suspect you have to interview for the coordinator job separate. Back to this wide nine question about Salah is certainly in his repertoire, but like I pointed out, base isn't really a thing anymore. Definitely would look more like the old school 4-3, 4 down in nickel than we've had since Schwartz. And I love Jim Schwartz's defense, but also the Titans were stocked with players during that. Yeah, so Bubbles is saying he'd rather look to trade back some spots and draft David Bailey. Now, I'm not married to mock drafts telling us what's going to happen, but Bailey, his stock seems to be, according to DraftNix, rising. And Bailey, it doesn't seem beyond comprehension that he could go fourth. So we shall see. A luxury pick. DJ wants to know what a luxury pick is. A luxury pick to me is not a premium position. So if you're drafting a running back at 4, when teams consistently find running backs in the 4th round or even as undrafted, or when there is a pretty good pool of running backs in free agency, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams. That's a luxury to me to take a running back at 4 when you're desperate for players who have a more disparate, the best one and the median mean player at that position are way further apart to me at edge or at corner or at receiver than they are at running back. And so to me, it's a luxury to take a safety or wide receiver incredibly high as opposed to an edge or a receiver, or getting into, I don't know, you take a corner at 4, not in this class, but you would take one maybe at 10 or 15 and certainly at 34 or wherever they are in the second round. So that's my thinking on a luxury position. Here, that's Jolly saying taking a running back at 4 would be a travesty when they can go out and sign Algier. Now, Algier wouldn't be my top one, but that's the kind of example. Now, I think when you stock up this roster, if you sign one of these free agents that we've mentioned, Breece Hall, Walker, and you get 2 good years out of him, and then if the roster is pretty complete and you've got a pretty complete depth chart in 2 years, then if you're drafting an Eddie George, a Derrick Henry, a Chris Johnson with that kind of premium pick, that's fine to bring him into a team that's got some pretty good talent. But you need a framework to get to the point where you're taking a guy like that. Let's see what else we've got. I got to be off of here in a few minutes. Take best player available every time, Trey said. It's literally a lottery pick if they pan out. Well, if the best player available is a quarterback, he's going to sit on your bench and he's not going to help your team at all. If the best player available is a left guard, he can't help you this year. So I get your overall theme, but I think there are big exceptions to it. If your best player available is a defensive tackle, where do his snaps come from with Jeffrey Simmons? So if your best player available is at one of the 5 or 6 spots that the Titans actually have a good player, or somebody that they're intending to build around like Cam Ward, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to take best player available. If you're convinced he's the best player available, then hopefully the rest of the league thinks he's the best player available and you can trade out. That's what I would try to do. I mean, ChapQuest asked what the story is with Levis. Is he healed? Is he back up or traded? It sounded like he was healed or close to healed when he visited the Titans. So, I think a trade would probably be ideal, but he gets a fresh start now with the new coaching staff and everything. He's not happy as a backup, but, the way he timed up that surgery, nobody's going to have any film on him or know the condition of his shoulder either, and he's not going to be worth a lot in a trade. And he's better than Brandon Allen. How did I know the ESPN article was BS? Please read my story. I outlined what I know. Yeah, I reported that it was wrong. Reporting means I have sources. I think this is very unlikely. Ed says, how would the organization spin it if Nagy were to be the offensive coordinator? Certainly not, hey, we don't trust Salah to get it right on his own. It'd be very difficult to have the offensive coordinator. Mike Herndon pointed this out. The offensive coordinator be a guy wants the head coaching job who's good friends with the general manager. It's not a good recipe. Plus, Nagy sold himself during this candidacy as a guy who didn't want to call plays as head coach. So how does he now downshift into a play calling coordinator? It's kind of a weird transition. I don't know. People are fascinated by it like this. What do I think happened with the McCarthy interview? I think they interviewed him like they interviewed a lot of other candidates, and they didn't care to interview him anymore. And they had guys that they preferred. I don't mean to get on you, Bill, but I don't understand the fascination with McCarthy. Like something had to go majorly wrong in an interview for him not to be a guy. They never had a strong feeling for Mike McCarthy. Never. And I've told you, I wrote yesterday, again, I hope you'll read this piece. In my piece while I was waiting, I wrote, he's not viewed as an innovator. He's viewed as kind of old school guy. Now, there are old school attributes you want in a coach, but I don't think one of them is that like you're not up with the times. And I talked to several people who say he's viewed as a guy who's not up with the times. But nobody wants to hear that from me. Everybody wants him to have been a finalist. And I'm still going to get questions today like, hey, are they still going to talk to McCarthy? And that's not pointed at you, Bill. That's pointed more broadly. McDaniel and Salah took care of the Rooney Rule for the head coaching job, which is now filled. But there's a Rooney Rule for coordinator jobs as well. All right, got to take a couple more and get out of Dodge here. Sergeant Bubbles says, at the end of the day, I feel optimistic about this team's future for the first time in a while. Been down ever since Vrabel was fired. Well, that's the way the league's built, right? They haven't done anything except win 3 games, draft first, win 3 games, earn the 4th pick, fire a coach, hire an interim, and now hire a coach. And based on that coach being hired, they hope that most people feel like you and have a whole new, renewed sense of hope. And that's how it worked. I don't get this question. I don't think it's possible they worried to lose McCarthy to the Steelers like we lost out on others. And the Steelers don't seem very far along. If they were worried about losing him, then what? I mean, they were free to talk to him earlier because he's not employed, and they talked to him earlier. If they were worried about losing him, they would have signed him to be their head coach, which they didn't because they didn't like him. Not like they liked the other guys. Salah's going to pick his staff. They're going to suggest, hey, we really like Bones Fossil. If you don't have a special teams guy, we'd love it if you kept him. We really think Luke Stocker is somebody that's going to grow into something. We'd really like if you found a spot for him. Otherwise, we've kept the staff here. We'll tell you anything you want to know about these guys. But you're free to let everybody go. The story is not true. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you're in here, I think it's because you like me and you value my reporting. And I know it not to be true. What sense would it make for Amy Adams Strunk, who finally has a good football guy again for the first time since the end of Robinson, or Robinson a few years before he lost it, for her to meddle in the hire and to force on her GM a coach that he did not want. I mean, she's not beyond doing stupid stuff, but you think Borgonzi's going to put up with that? I don't. And I talked to multiple people who told me how it unfolded, and that is not how it unfolded. And I'll let Trey have the final word here. Public service announcement. PK doesn't say things like, I know it to be true, unless it's true, which is absolutely correct. If I thought they'd like to keep Bush, I would have said they'd like to keep Bush. But I didn't say they'd like to keep Bush. There are a couple other guys that they like, who they wouldn't mind if Salah decided to keep. My understanding isn't that Bush is one of them. Bush has developed one guy in his whole career that's of note. This is Cedric Gray. That's the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I appreciate you coming by. It is good to see you. I hope you have a good rest of the week. I will be back later in the week, I expect. Check out my Instagram, eat at Edley's, sign up and be a member at paulkuharsky.com. Don't block the box, and be sure, please, to lock your locks.